The man accused of assassinating Charlie Kirk is bringing in some high-profile names to bolster his legal team, while Utah prosecutors begin building their case for the death penalty. Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Emily Campagno here with my co-host, Harris Faulkner. And also joining us today, Cheryl Casoni, host of American Dream Home on Fox Business, Kennedy, host of the Kennedy Saves the World podcast. And for the first time on the couch, we welcome Joshua Ritter, criminal defense attorney and Fox News contributor. Well, one of Tyler Robinson's new lawyers is Michael Burt, a defense attorney with almost 50 years of experience who defended one of the Menendez brothers in 1993. Meanwhile, Fox News Digital gained access to the rooftop at Utah Valley University, where police believe the alleged assassin took his deadly shot. The roof is now fitted with barriers and security cameras, but on September 10th, the day Charlie Kirk was murdered, security experts say the shooter could have easily accessed the roof almost undetected. They note that there were no security gates blocking ladders that led up to the roof. So all of this, Joshua, sort of dovetailing in with now what we expect to be the defense team's case. Talk to us about it, about what it means to bring in now this sort of high-profile, long-time litigator and what it looks like for the defendant moving forward.
They're thinking about this case heading to trial. I mean, first and foremost, I don't think that there is a pathway for this case settling, quite honestly. I mean, we're talking about the death penalty. The state would have to take the death penalty off the table for to be any kind of discussion about settling this case. So I think they have to, and I think rightfully so, think about, we have to prepare for trial. Let's bring in trial counsel, experienced trial counsel that's handled a case that's been high profile, trial counsel that's handled a case that's been subject to the death penalty. The other way that they're looking at attacking this, as it were, is with the death penalty. How can they legally challenge that? What obstacles can they present for the prosecution as far as the charges that they bring, aggravated murder, challenging that so that perhaps the death penalty isn't on the table? But I think at all times through all of this pretrial litigation, they're thinking about one day we will probably be ending up in court in front of 12 people.
Not to be crass, but the fact that that attorney defended one of the Menendez brothers in '93, we know how that turned out.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, in terms of this acquisition for the team, how exactly does that bode confidence for the defendant?
Well, he was on the team that got a hung trial, so at least I think they're thinking to themselves that he's seen some success. Also, I think they're thinking this is a case where, in Menendez, like in this case, it's not so much about who did it, right? We're not getting into the facts of whether or not this crime was committed. It's more of what is it? And that's what the question was in Menendez. They tried to bring in some creative mitigating arguments in Menendez, right? And I think that's the same thing they might be attempting here, is perhaps if they're heading to trial, how do we help jurors understand why there might be reasons to not put this man in the death chamber?
Yeah, and that's why you are the legal eagle today. And Cheryl, I want to play for you a little bit of the commentary that the judge made during that highly publicized hearing, this message for the attorneys on both sides. Let's watch.
Counsel, regardless of who is watching, whether it is the nation or a single individual, we must fulfill our roles with integrity, civility, and diligence. I encourage each of you to give your very best to this case. Neither Mr. Robinson nor the people of Utah deserve anything less than the fair and impartial administration of justice.
Cheryl, I think that sort of underscores what Joshua's been saying, which is that it's a noble endeavor, regardless of whether we think we know or know about guilt or innocence, to represent these individuals, that the sort of criminal justice system is higher than one person, and therefore they're going to give it their best no matter what.
So innocent proven guilty. But at the same time, when I look and listen to that judge just now, my heart hurts, because every time we do one of these high-profile cases and it goes to the court, especially if there's cameras in the court and there's reporters outside, the family has to relive the events. And I keep thinking about Erica Kirk and the kids and everybody that loved Charlie, and how if this is the way that we're going, and it sounds like what you're saying, this is where we're going to go, that we're all going to have to relive this, but in particular the family. I have to say one thing, though. I was reading this, Time magazine said this about Erica Kirk just yesterday. I said, few would have faulted Erica Kirk if she had stood before tens of thousands at her husband's memorial and demanded retribution. She did not. She chose forgiveness. But I can't imagine being her if this does go to court.
Yeah, and so let's sort of dive into that, Kennedy, because I think, frankly, the nation, I don't want to speak for the whole nation, but a lot of the nation was shocked as we saw the result of the Kohberger non-trial, which was indeed an acceptance of the plea. We know that not all the victims' families supported that decision. We also know here that the state is the entity that is being represented. It is not Charlie Kirk's widow. It is not Charlie Kirk's estate. So in that representation, we might see here something as we potentially saw when the parents of the defendant brought him into the sheriff's and turning them in saying, my biggest fear was him dying in a shootout. So at the end of the day, if protecting his life is the most important thing, perhaps this trial might be averted in addition to reliving that nightmare for the loved ones.
Yes, and it was interesting because I was thinking about the Kohberger case as Josh Ritter was talking about this, because you had one of the families who didn't want it to go to trial, and they didn't want to Cheryl's point, to relive the trauma of their daughter being murdered and ripped away from them. But at the same time, we need justice in this country. You know, we need for this question to be settled morally and spiritually, but also we have to disincentivize the political violence that is, you know, an epidemic, it feels like. And this murder was so different than anything that we have experienced in this, you know, political circus that we're in right now. And as, you know, as a Christian, as an Eastern Orthodox Christian, and as a libertarian, I am against the death penalty. I don't think that the state should be putting people to death. The part of me that is overcome by sadness and anxiety and emotion wants retribution, like wants vengeance against this individual. And that's why the judge's words are so important, because the lawyers on both sides, they have to rise above the sides of us as a society that are warring against each other and, you know, truly bring justice here. What does that look like right now? I don't know, but it wouldn't feel right if there were a plea and if we had a trial taken away from us in a moment where we need so many of these questions answered and we need some form of resolution.
Yeah, and what it looks like now in terms of preparing for the potential inevitability of trial, Harris, we can put on the full screen and show everyone what the defense's team looks like for the defendant, and it's sort of showcasing a rather lengthy and pretty impressive experience. As Josh took us through earlier, they're certainly bolstering up the ranks to ensure this defendant is given that fair trial.
Yeah, worked on 20-plus capital cases. That stands out to me with Richard Novak, the co-counsel. I mean, that's what this has been since the get-go. The governor of Utah has said from the very moment, Governor Cox has said, you know, that would be where they would reach, would be the death penalty. So that's something that really stands out. Tried death penalty cases in 5 different states, Michael Burt, co-counsel. So, yeah, they are, it seems to me, Josh, that they are more geared up for what happens to keep him alive after this whole process. And maybe that's a plea. I'm not really sure. I do want to ask you this, though. So we reported last week when the prosecution announced how much discovery could be possible because they have so much evidence. When you see them bringing on, you know, bigger guns, if you will, in terms of legal power and legal might, what do you make of the extra time it takes to go through all of that evidence? That's like a window to find more mistakes now with the best of the best looking for them.
Yeah, I think we all need to prepare that this is going to take a while. It really is. I mean, you heard the prosecutor, to your point, in court say there's a voluminous amount of discovery, and we're still early on. They still have to go through cell phones, computers, everything that they've seized, his Discord. I mean, It's going to start to continue to add up to the amount of discovery that's going to be turned over. And then it is a death penalty case. So every time they turn to the judge and say, Your Honor, we need more time to go through all of this, a judge is going to defer to them because realizing the state is trying to give him the greatest punishment there is.
But there are porous opportunities in all of that evidence, too, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, I think they're trying to fight the death penalty. I think they see this as intending to save their client's life.
That's what those resumes tell me.
Right. But that doesn't mean that they're going to roll over at trial. I mean, if they can go through this evidence and find something to make an argument out of, I think they absolutely will. But in my view, This case, if it were assigned to me, I would be viewing this as trying to save my client's life.
Yeah. Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.